Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are going on reading from the Bhagavad-Gita as it is, chapter 9, text 2, and I'm going to read 2 paragraphs from this beautiful and very deep purport, because it's very deep, so I'll just read 2 paragraphs here. And whoever is giving class tomorrow, please take it into consideration. As I said, my name is Mangal. I'm from Russia, and actually it has been a great privilege that I'm given an opportunity to give the class here, and I guess it's just by the mercy of devotees that I'm trying to speak something on this great knowledge. So this is where we left. The word dharmyam, this is in this Bhagavad-Gita, it's page 396. The word dharmyam means the path of religion. Narada was actually a son of a maidservant. He had no opportunity to go to school. He was simply assisting his mother, and fortunately his mother rendered some service to the devotees. The child Narada also got the opportunity and simply by association achieved the highest goal of all religion. The highest goal of all religion is devotional service, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Savai pumsam parodharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje. Religious people generally do not know that the highest perfection of religion is the attainment of devotional service. As we have already discussed in regard to the last verse of chapter 8, Videshu yaggeshu tapaksu chaiva, generally Vedic knowledge is required for self-realization. But here, although Narada never went to the school of the spiritual master, Gurukula, right, and was not educated in the Vedic principles, he acquired the highest results of Vedic study. This process is so potent that even without performing the religious process regularly, one can be raised to the highest perfection. How is this possible? This is also confirmed in Vedic literature, Acharyavan Purusho Vida. One who is in association with great acharyas, even if he is not educated or has never studied the Vedas, can become familiar with all the knowledge necessary for realization. So then the second paragraph I'm reading today. The process of devotional service is a very happy one, susukham. Why? Devotional service consists of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnah, so one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord, or can attend philosophical lectures on transcendental knowledge given by the authorized acharyas. Simply by sitting one can learn, then one can eat the remnants of the food offered to God, nice palatable dishes. In every state, devotional service is joyful. One can execute devotional service even in the most poverty-stricken condition. The Lord says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. He is ready to accept from the devotee any kind of offering, never mind what. Even a leaf, a flower, a bit of fruit, or a little water, which are all available in every part of the world, can be offered by any person regardless of social position and will be accepted if offered with love. There are many instances in history. Simply by tasting the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, great sages like Sanat Kumara became great devotees. Therefore, the devotional process is very nice and it can be executed in a happy mood. God accepts only the love with which things are offered to Him. So those are the two paragraphs we are covering today. Om Gyanti Mirandasya Gyananjana Salukaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutali Swayamrupah Kadamakyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatrupyascha Kripa Sinhupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Let's go back and read the verse itself. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. So when I read this, I immediately can immediately remember one stotram, which is Shri Gopala Sahasranama stotram. I guess many of you have heard of it, right? Shri Gopala Sahasranama stotram. So this is just, I'm bringing it up to substantiate the point of the verse that this is the most secret of all secrets. This knowledge of devotional service is actually the most confidential. So in this stotram, Lord Shiva talks to his wife Parvati, and he tells his wife, in response to her question, he tells the most confidential truth. And he says that this knowledge should never be revealed to outside persons. So persons who are not austere, those who are not devoted enough, etc., etc. And Lord Shiva even goes up to the point that he says that if someone violates those instructions and still reveals this confidential knowledge, then there are big and very severe consequences of that. So this is how much this knowledge is actually confidential. And in that stotram, Parvati asks Lord Shiva, "Oh my Lord, the whole three worlds worship you. You are the master of the universe, but still I can see that you devote a lot of time to meditation. So whom you meditate on, and what kind of prayers do you chant?" And in response, Lord Shiva reveals Parvati the knowledge about Sri Gopal. So Lord Shiva actually, in one of his aspects, he always meditates on Sankarsana, as we know, right? Sankarsana. And in another aspect of his, he meditates on Lord Ramachandra, Ram. And again, in another aspect, as Advaita Acharya, he's Advaita Acharya, as we know, he's combined incarnation of Lord Sadashiva and Lord Mahavishnu. So in that incarnation, Lord Shiva meditates on Gauranga Mahaprabhu constantly. And in that particular instance, which is described in Shri Gopala Sahasranama Stotram, Lord Shiva meditates on Shri Gopal. And one of the most wonderful things he says there is exactly what Srila Prabhupada is telling in his purport. So as we know, Guru Parampara is one, means this knowledge is one. So Lord Shiva says something like, let me try to remember this verse. Anyway, so in this part, Lord Shiva says that the majority of the living entities in this universe, they are Mahamudha. Mahamudha is like, they're really, really stupid. Why? Vishnu Bhakti Vivarjitaha, because they are averse to Vishnu Bhakti. Okay, and Srila Prabhupada says the same thing in his purports, in his books. And actually, if we dive deeper in this matter, why they are stupid, because they are averse to Vishnu Bhakti or Krishna Bhakti, the point is, actually Krishna Bhakti maintains everything. And if you say no, you know, why do you bringing up this point? Then we can analyze it. We can analyze it analytically. Let's take, for example, like nowadays, people have so much stress. They go to psychologists. They go to different types of specialists with the one and only reason to get some relief from their mental issues, problems, etc. And the point is, if someone like in highly economically educated, economically developed countries like United States or Sweden, for this matter, if someone is having enough material things, but he or she does not have enough happiness, which is, as we know, it's internal condition happiness. Happiness doesn't depend upon really how much, you know, material things you have. So if you don't have that, then different kinds of diseases may develop, and someone even commits suicide. As we know, there are so many suicides in the modern society. Why? Because people lose the point of life. Means they don't find it. They don't find any reason to go on with this life. with this life. I'm sorry. I was a dentist today, so bear with my pronunciation. So if someone doesn't have a reason to live, this means that they are greatly unhappy. They are greatly distressed. So then they may do a lot of things. Like people try taking intoxications, going to psychologists, and commit suicide or whatever. Anything they think will stop their sufferings. And even those people who got all the ways and means to solve their problems, like they got money, they got friends, they got position, they got knowledge, even they find it difficult. Even they find it difficult to solve their problems. And let's take, for example, Sweden. I don't know what about now, but previously it was considered to be one of the most economically developed countries, and the country with the highest suicide rate. Means people commit suicide there quite often, like a percentage of suicides per per population was the highest, and I was wondering what was the reason, because Sweden is economically very developed, and people have over there everything. But then I remember myself looking at their magazine. That was a farmer's magazine. Farmers, like, with their tractors, and in Sweden, tractors are really nice, they're so beautiful. And I remember what shocked me in that magazine is there was only one person per every page of this magazine. So basically, the way of life they are maybe not advocating, but somehow or other they support it, or they don't reject it, is complete loneliness. So in their ego, they go up to the point when they are just alone. And one particular article, there was a woman farmer, and in that article she boasted her ability to farm 100 hectares of land just by herself. because she's got a nice tractor, and if anything breaks, she just makes a call, so the servicemen come and they fix it. But anyway, so Sweden and other economically developed countries, they have this problem. Suicide rate is really high, and so they go up to the point of complete loneliness, and they try to enjoy it. But as we know, happiness is only possible, real happiness is only possible in relationships. Even material happiness, it can be only experienced in relationships. If you are by your own, suppose I got a nice computer, and I got a computer game, so I'm diving deep in computer games and reaching different levels. But still, they create societies of computer gamers, or this computer game allows me to sport with some other users of computer game. So if I'm left by my own, then no real enjoyment, because it's all mechanical. So my point is. Even people who have no problem with relationships, they still may suffer, they still may have a lot of problems. But if we look at the core of the problem, what they are lacking happiness inside. So if I'm getting everything, like let's say when people make their festivals, materialistic people I'm talking about. So suppose they have a weddings, right? Wedding. So a normal wedding may cost, a lot. So like we're talking lakhs and lakhs of rupees, right? So it may cost like 20-30 lakh rupees if it's a rich family. And it's wonderful to see, if you ever visit such weddings or such festivals, how people over there are trying to squeeze all the possible enjoyment because they paid money, right? So they are supposed to enjoy, and it doesn't matter that it's already 12 a.m. Late at night, but still, I paid money, I have to enjoy. But the experience sometimes may not be that comfortable over there. So even people who's got everything to enjoy, still they're not guaranteed from the problems, because happiness really comes from inside. And Krishna has this wonderful feature that he controls everything and everyone by just being Rasavaisaha. Rasavaisaha, it doesn't. Sorry, Rasavaisaha means he's the source of all rasa. He's the source of all pleasurable relationships. And in the beginning of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, it describes how all the different devotees of the Lord, all those great personalities whom the world worships in awe and reverence, and even the incarnations of the Lord like Narayan, they are actually, it describes their mood, and their mood is they are devotees of the Lord. So even Narayan, Lord Narayan, although he is the Supreme Lord himself, still he considers himself, a servant of the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna controls everything by just this fact that just meditating on him brings a lot of pleasure. Like there is a verse from the scriptures which goes like Ramanti yoginam nante. Who knows this verse? No. Ramanti yoginam nante Satyananda chid atmani itirama padena sau. Something like this. So the translation of this verse is the great mystics derive great pleasure in the holy name of Ram. So literally it means that they derive unlimited pleasure. So even the Lord's holy name, although we know it's not the holy name of the Lord isn't different from the Lord, but from material viewpoint we might say there is some difference because this is sound vibration and etc. So just if you accept this point for the argument's sake, still chanting the Lord's holy name can bring so much happiness, so much pleasure. So Krishna controls everything by just his being Rasavai Saha. This is one of the reasons why some people they don't really but they can't really accept or find it difficult to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because Krishna looks just like a boy, cowherd boy with a flute. So what is this? Where is the disc or club or muscles? So where are the symptoms, the features of a great and powerful personality? But Krishna doesn't have to do all this. He doesn't have even to use his chakra, although he is chakri, he's got his chakra. But he doesn't have to use this. He just plays his flute, and the whole world, Jai Ho, Jai Ho, Jai Ho. Now we've been blessed. Jai Ho Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So Krishna just plays his flute, and the whole world dances in ecstasy, and Lord Shiva also starts dancing with all of his associates. And what to speak of the Lord, there is a passage from the scriptures that when Srimati Radharani, the Lord's eternal consort, is thinking about meeting Krishna, then she's in such a happy mood that the whole universe, the whole material world is filled up with happiness, and Lord Shiva dances in ecstasy with his other associates. But then suddenly, well, you can find this passage at Shivaramaswami's books, just if you want to find it. But suddenly another thought appears on Radharani's mind, that okay, what if Krishna doesn't come? Then suddenly Radharani's mood changes, and she starts, she's being upset, and she starts getting angry, and suddenly all the three worlds are under threat of complete destruction. And so this means that Lord Shiva starts dancing different dance, Tandava Nritya, and the whole world is under the threat of being destroyed. So then Lalita Devi kindly comes to our rescue. She rescues the inhabitants of the material world by approaching Radharani and talking to her, changing her mood completely again to a happy mood. So how powerful are Radha and Krishna? Just see. So this is why Lord Shiva tells Mother Parvati that please you should not reveal this confidential truth to those people who are not ready to hear about this. So please don't reveal this truth. And this is why in this purport it says, in this verse it says, this knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets, because this knowledge answers the question how to really become happy. And in these two purports, paragraphs in particular, Srila Prabhupada is talking about the second paragraph goes like, the process of devotional service is a very happy one. Susukham. Why? Devotional service consists of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoh. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord, or can attend philosophical lectures on transcendental knowledge given by authorized acharyas. And what does it mean? Actually, the real pleasure one can obtain when one is influenced by the spiritual potency of the Lord. So when spiritual potency of the Lord influences an individual, then he or she achieved this state of happiness, which sometimes cannot be really explained, up to the point that some beginners in devotional service, sometimes they asked older devotees questions like, okay, I started chanting Hare Krishna and it feels like, I'm taking drugs, so what is this? So the reply is very simple. That's, my dear, your idea about happiness, But actually chanting of the holy name, or sometimes they say, oh, okay, I've taken some prasadam and now it feels like, I took a bottle of vodka. What is this? So, but that's, again, this is their idea of happiness. This is how they are accustomed to experience that happiness. Although devotional service is very intoxicating, of course, but this feeling is way deeper than what any drug or any wine can give us. Yes, so one can experience the real happiness only by the contact with the spiritual potency of the Lord, and the question is how to get this contact with the spiritual potency of the Lord. So who can answer this question? How do we get in contact with this spiritual potency?
By chanting the holy names.
Okay, so that.
By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay.
Association of devotees.
Yes. That's all right. Is all the answers? Yeah. So the point is, the Lord's internal energies consists of 4 things, as far as I can remember. So the Lord's holy name, the Lord's form, the Lord's qualities, and the Lord's pastimes. So if we come into the contact with any of those 4 things, especially when we get to hear from a highly elevated spiritual master, then we immediately come into contact with the Lord's internal potency. And actually, we are supposed, following the instructions of our Guru and Srila Prabhupada, we're supposed to develop our own connection, our own channel of this contact with the spiritual energy. And the only reason why we find it difficult to experience the same pleasure or the same feelings when we chant themselves, like the same as when we hear from a pure devotee, or participate in a pure devotee's kirtan. The only reason why we can't do it for now is that we have to become purified themselves. We have to become pure devotees themselves. And usually it goes in the following way. In the beginning, Krishna is giving us kind of like advance, like when you get advance for a work done. Okay, so I'm advancing you for a particular good or service I'm buying from you. So Krishna is giving us an advance. So he's giving us some taste, and at this point he doesn't pay attention to our socio-physical conditioning, because sometimes it's really shocking, what kind of people may come to the devotional service. You don't have to go too far for the examples. We just have to point to ourselves, basically. Is it not a wonder that we've joined? Maybe that's not the case in India, where we have a lot of pious families, pious people coming from, let's say, a Brahmana family. But in the West and in Russia, that's the case. So it means it's just purely the mercy of Srila Prabhupada that we can practice spiritual life. And that's actually the most confidential part of knowledge. Srila Prabhupada is talking here about the difference between the soul and the body, and he's actually talking a lot about this point. But actually, until or unless we haven't realized this difference between the soul and the body, we can't really advance far into spiritual science. We can't really get realization, get the realization. And this verse says that, let me go back. Yes, it is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying that generally even religious people, they don't know that devotional service is the highest goal of Vedic knowledge. The highest goal of spiritual life is devotional service, and they don't know this because usually if you talk to religious people, they are mainly interested in dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, in four things. So it means dharma is religiosity. When someone is dutiful, he nicely does all his responsibilities, all his how we say that in the West, he plays his social roles perfectly, because social roles is like, okay, for my parents I'm son, for my wife I'm husband, for my children I'm father, etc., etc. For my employer I'm employee, etc., etc. So that's the social roles. So, and when one does this perfectly, he might be called religious. So he religiously means very nicely and very regularly executing his prescribed duties. Yeah, but you know, they usually go as far as moksha by following this path, because when I'm dutiful, I can get artha, means I can get economic development, I can get some money or some other facilities, and of course I will use it for enjoyment of the senses. And finally, people sometimes get up to the point when they are really disgusted with material enjoyment and they want moksha, they want liberation. But what happens then? Why this is not perfect to be such a religious person? Because when I get up to the point of moksha, I can even go as far as Brahmajyoti. But then what happens? Patantadhah, so they fall down again into the material world, and then I start again the same cycle. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. It's like suppose I'm having a diabetes, and doctor tells me, okay, no sweets, but still I'm so fond of sweets that I eat them. So what happens is, okay, in the beginning it's so enjoyable when I have like 2 or 3, but then I go on eating, and finally I go up to the point of disgust, because I can't eat that much sugar. I mean, everyone's got a limit, unless you are Madhumangala, who is the Lord's associates. With his spiritual body, he's got spiritual body, spiritual liver, spiritual tongue, so he can eat a lot of sweets for the Lord's pleasure. But normal people, they get tired, I mean, they get disgusted having to eat too many sweets. So what's going on is I eat sweets, then I drop sweets, then I again go back to eating sweets, but the disease doesn't get cured in this way if I just rotate in this cycle. So the only possible solution is to find something, to find some like in this case, to find some motivation to stop eating sweets for good, or replace sweets with something which gives me a nice taste, nice experience, but isn't harmful that much for the health. So that's the point, that even so-called spiritual people, they don't know that serving Krishna is the highest pinnacle of the spiritual life. And when devotees talk about this, they reject. They say, no, that cannot be the highest pinnacle of spiritual life. Okay, then you ask them, what's the perfection in your opinion? So they can only go up to the point of moksha. Like yogis, they enjoy mystical powers, and ordinary mortals, they enjoy economic development and sense gratification, etc., etc. But all these processes are imperfect, and they can't really bring us the happiness we want, because Krishna's got another secret. He's always expanding. Means like Srila Prabhupada puts it in teachings of Lord Chaitanya, that Krishna and Krishna's potency, they compete with each other. Like Krishna is always expanding, and then his potency is Krishna expands, then his potency expands, then again Krishna expands, then again his potency expands. And when I read it for the first time, I really started thinking, okay, so if something expands, it has to do it in a particular space, right? So sooner or later the limits will be reached, right? So if something expands, then finally there should be some limit. But actually, no, it doesn't work this way, because as Srila Prabhupada explains, there is an energy of the Lord which is called, please correct me. So when Krishna, when we dream of something, when we think of something, then there is a difference between my dream and between the reality. Let's say I want iPhone 12 Pro in maximum completion, in like everything first class basically. And if I'm not in America, then it's the matter of 1,30,000 rupees or 1,50,000 rupees. I don't know how much it costs, but quite a bit. So there is a difference between my desire to get an iPhone 12 Max and iPhone. So I really have to get money somewhere, or steal it from someone and get the consequences, or do something, or maybe I can buy some cheaper phone and be satisfied with that. But when Krishna thinks of something, there is no difference between Krishna's thinking and between the reality. This means that when Krishna thinks of something, it's already the reality. And when Krishna thinks of himself as the cowherd boy herding cows, and Radharani's and Subha's friend, Radharani's beloved and Subha's friend, and the other gopis and cowherd boys, there is immediately a reality for this, the reality, Golok Vrindavan. And when he wants to experience the kingly bhav, then immediately there is Dwaraka. And when he wants to fight with Kamsa's wrestlers and then kick Kamsa's ass, like in the spiritual world, he's not killing Kamsa really. He's just kicking his ass, and Kamsa goes back to normal, as I heard. You can correct me if I'm mistaken. So immediately there is the realm for that, which is Mathura. So and same way, when Krishna thinks in a particular way, there is a place for Radharani in her different forms. So this is how it works, and because this is the spiritual energy, there is no limitation by space and time. There is no such limitation. So Krishna can expand unlimitedly, because there is no limit in the spiritual energy. Means there is no borders, no walls. He's just doing this. He's just thinking of this, and it immediately becomes the reality. But when we think of something, there's a difference between what we think and what's in reality. So that's the difference. And same way, the whole point of doing this, why Krishna expands unlimitedly and his potency expands unlimitedly, is to experience the unlimited bliss. So I remember, like few years ago, there was a boom of unlimited internet, right? So like I don't know how many years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, they started doing this. giving you unlimited internet for just 1,000 rupees per month. So it's not really unlimited, but yeah, somehow or other it's better than, like I used to spend 5-6 years ago, like 1,500 rupees per month for just a few gigabytes of internet. So it was way better. But Krishna's potency is not like this. When we say unlimited, it's truly unlimited. So this means when we join devotional service, when we do devotional service, we basically join this unlimited pack of bliss. Because Krishna is able to reciprocate with all the individuals unlimitedly. He reciprocates with his expansions like Narayan and others. He reciprocates with Lord Shiva, and he reciprocates with the demigods. He reciprocates with the humans on this earth, and he reciprocates with he's able to reciprocate with every living entity in all the material and spiritual worlds. So this is why devotional service is called the susukham. The word susukham might be translated as a really, really high quality or a refined happiness. So it means happiness of devotional service is really, really high quality. It's not like the pursuits of people to squeeze out some enjoyment during the parties. It's not like that. So this happiness is truly unlimited. And the only reason why people can't get there is they have to be fortunate enough to meet a sadhu who will help them getting there. So all of us were fortunate enough to get such association of the devotees. And one of the most interesting points is, let's say, there is a dispute going on in some Vaishnava societies, and the dispute is who is the Uttamadhikari, right? So, like, if you go outside of ISKCON, this is the issue number one. So, who is the Uttamadhikari who can lead the whole, let's say, Gaudiya Math, right? So that's the dispute. But the wonderful feature of devotees association is if we are ready to get this mercy, we can get it even through the devotees who are not that highly elevated, because there might be no self-evident Uttamadhikaris in ISKCON or in other societies. I mean, I'm talking about the people who do this dispute. Of course, we all know and we must have faith that our spiritual master is the Uttamadhikari. So but still there are people who want to argue this point, okay? So this is what I'm talking about. Of course, the disciple has to be convinced that his spiritual master is the Uttamadhikari, okay? So he's getting everything which is needed for his spiritual life, for attaining the success through his spiritual master. But still there are people who want to argue this point. This is why there is a GBC statement that for those who can see it, ISKCON's gurus are Madhyama Adhikaris. So it's a very humble statement actually. And I don't want to add anything here at this point. What I wanted to say is, even if we accept this for the argument's sake, if we accept this issue, this statement, still Krishna is not limited, he's unlimited. So he can give us mercy even through the medium of not so elevated devotees. Sometimes when we join, in a little while we start seeing that other devotees who are superior to us, who brought us to devotional service, still they might have some issues to deal with, right? So they're not completely there yet, but still we have to remember that first experience of our contact with Krishna consciousness, even done through such people. They might be imperfect, but still how beautiful that was, our first experience with the devotees. So, and sometimes in our devotional life we get to the point when we start not we, but someone gets up to the point. It says that Madhyama Adhikari can really see the level of devotees. So, and when it begins, then it's, if you get there, then, congratulations, you're very fortunate. That's one of the first symptoms of Madhyama Adhikari. So when you get there, please bless me that I also may sometime get over there. But when someone starts seeing the real level of devotees in devotional service, there is a danger of making a great mistake by starting to criticize devotees. That's a very big no. And when I find myself in having such a tendency, then I immediately remember the words of one very nice devotee who said that the Vaishnava's faults actually glorify the Vaishnava. Because, suppose I'm following the logic of my mind all the way to the end. Yes, such and such is such a bad person, he's having this problem and this fault and this and this. But then you ask yourself a question, then, with all his faults, then how come he's able to practice devotional service? How come? With all these faults, he's not supposed to do this, he's not supposed to practice the devotional service, but still he does. So in this way, the faults of a Vaishnava glorified the Vaishnava, because if he's able to practice, if he's still chanting Hare Krishna with all his so-called faults and shortcomings, this means that he must have obtained the special mercy of the Lord, which actually distinguished him in spite of all his or her faults. So the faults of a Vaishnava glorify the Vaishnava. So that's the point. So what I'm saying is, if Shraddha means, when we have faith, Shraddha means we want to get the best in our association with the devotees, because while associating with the devotees, we may start seeing their faults. The majority of that stuff is actually just our mind's impressions or whatever. Sometimes people may see, the Madhyama Adhikaris can see the real level of spiritual advancement of a particular devotee. But still, if Shraddha means that I don't really want to be focused on someone's faults or shortcomings. What I want Krishna. And if I want to get mercy, then I can get mercy even through an imperfect medium. But of course, when someone is ready, then the spiritual master appears on the horizon and accepts the one as one of his disciples. That's true. But still, we should learn how to get mercy even through the imperfect medium of the devotees we might be surrounded with. And finally, when someone gets a little bit more advanced, he starts being focused on one's own faults and shortcomings without paying much attention to the others' faults and shortcomings. This is this is a wonderful level we all should strive for. When someone is tolerant towards the faults and shortcomings of others, and not tolerant towards one's own faults and shortcomings. So when one gets there, then this is when the real advancement starts. But in any ways, as Srila Prabhupada says, that the process of devotional service is really very happy from the beginning till end. What makes us unhappy sometimes is the material contamination in the heart. So we still got the material contamination, and we have to deal with that with the help of the devotees, with the help of the spiritual master. But as one advances in devotional service, slowly, gradually, he gets to the level when one becomes always happy, always satisfied. It just takes, it might take a considerable time, sometimes a few lifetimes. But Shraddha also means that I'm ready, I'm hoping for the Lord's mercy, And even if I get it in a million lifetimes, still this hope is what makes me to go on with my devotional service. And the illustration of that, I'm just telling this short story, and I'm finishing the class. So who was that? An associate of Lord Chaitanya who used to associate with the devotees, listen from them, and then go and listen from Mayavadis. Who was that? No? Yeah, anyway, I'm sorry, I just I don't remember his name. Probably that was Mukunda, no? Anyway, so a great devotee of the Lord revealed a nice pastime. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. So he used to associate with the Vaishnavas and hear from them, and sometimes he would go and hear from Mayavadis. And once Lord Chaitanya told his associates that he doesn't want to see him anymore. So just no more. Please don't bring this person to me. I don't want to see his face. He's associating with Mayavadis. The Mayavadis are Krishna Paradis. So they are, I believe it was Mukunda. Mukunda? No, Mukunda. No, Choda Haridas committed another mistake.
Sure, he would not bless him for that. And then after he said, well, how long he will be delivered? Millions of lifetimes. Oh, at least after millions of lifetimes I will be delivered. So he is happy. Then he calls him back.
Yeah. And there's another version of this story. Means they're not contradictory, really. And in another version, Lord Chaitanya is saying that he will come to me in so many lifetimes as there are leaves on that tree under which he sits. And so that's another version, also beautiful. And when Mukunda heard it, he started jumping and dancing in ecstasy that, okay, the Lord will see me, the Lord will see me. And what happened, it produced so much vibration that this tree started to shake, and all the leaves, they just fell down. And the Lord actually called for this person, and he was again accepted as the Lord's associate, close associate. So that's the Vedic knowledge is like a vast ocean, so no one can really cover everything. So that's the point. I just finished with the reading. That there are many instances in history simply by tasting the tulsi leaves. Yeah, 1 second. Even a leaf, a flower, a bit of fruit, or a little water, which are all available in every part of the world, can be offered by any person, regardless of social position, and will be accepted if offered with love. And when such an offering is done, then with love, and the Lord accepts this, then we immediately feel this internal happiness and satisfaction. Okay, Hare Krishna, we stop there, and please, any questions or comments?
Probably this knowledge must not be revealed to people who are envious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes.
When we want to preach to outsiders, we don't know what they are. Many people accept, and some are they don't want to. So how do we know?
Mm-hmm. Well, it depends.
Like for example, my mother, she's a very nice person, but she doesn't like to hear anything about Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
So, but still Hare Krishna, I still keep saying things to her because, she's my mother and I wish good for her. So what should I do in that case?
Well, in case of our relatives, we should be attentive to how we play our social roles in relationship with them. So quite often there are conflicts between the close relatives, because when someone becomes a devotee, he might think that, it's not necessarily your case, I'm just in general, sometimes they may think that they are already transcendental, so they don't have to pay too much attention to playing their social roles. So I believe that might be in your mother's case, the best preaching could be not to preach her too much, but she must see. I mean, she might be already seeing something, but she might be. She may require seeing a little bit more of what the devotional service does to you as a person. Like sometimes, quite often, when the relatives see that as the result of devotional service someone becomes a better person, then they might appreciate it and start accepting. Because let's say in Russia, just an example, in Russia, quite often people come to Krishna consciousness, the whole family may come. And the way it happens is, well, you can imagine what is Russia, right? So in movies you get to see sometimes, it's like, a lot of vodka and nice weaponry, nice ladies. So something like this, right? So this is the picture which is depicted in American movies and even some Bollywood movies. So Russians are, drunkards and, but in the heart good people, no doubt. So when someone accepts the devotional service and suddenly his relatives see that, okay, this person dropped drinking vodka, dropped smoking, and finally, he became basically totally different person. Then, if this person maintains good relationships with his relatives, they may all join ISKCON. But it of course depends not only upon the perfect behavior of the devotee, of course, no doubt. It also depends upon their individual relationships with Krishna, how ready they are. But still, I believe that in the case of our close relatives, our best preaching is our ideal behavior. So, because you asked for advice, what to do, well, it might...
I'm like always hammering, Krishna conscious on her. If she's conditioned in another way and...
that might...
I don't want to hear what she has to say, she doesn't want to hear. And,
yes, but the origin of this, I believe, is somewhere in the beginning when you just joined ISKCON and... there was some violations on the level of social roles you're playing. So this question you're asking, or this issue you're bringing up, is actually a common issue for so many devotees. And the problem is, we think we're already transcendental, so we don't have to care for the social, customs and behaving properly. See, the point is for our relatives, we have to still take into consideration our their external vision. They look at us materially, right, with material eyes, and for them we are daughters and sons, etc. So this means that some devotee put a joke that the beginners in Krishna consciousness, they are posing themselves as elevated devotees, and the elevated devotees, they are posing themselves as materialists, as normal people. So there is probably something we should learn from this. So because we might have spent quite a bit in Krishna consciousness, so we should learn how to behave sometimes as normal people, not like ordinary persons. In when the situation is suitable for this, then I might need to behave just as an ordinary person. So if I always preach to my relatives, then it might produce the opposite reaction. So that's, I hope that's the answer to your question, but this is actually a sensitive spot for many devotees, so you're not alone. And no, not alone. It's a typical situation, and I believe maybe you should preach her a little bit less and try playing daughter, with her. Playing means that this is social role. We don't really have to pretend, because you're already her daughter, right? yeah, but playing social roles means we do what we're supposed to do on this level, knowing that this is how they look at us. They see us in this way, maturely conditioned persons.
Thank you, brother.
So when
the best weapon is, I think, that prasad, giving them prasad without knowledge. Just bring them nice Krishna prasad, everything what they like, and they just by that they get purified gradually, and then becomes one respect.
Yeah, that's also tactics. Yes.
The weapon is like prasad.
But sometimes the relatives don't accept even this, unfortunately. Yeah. Prasadam always works. I remember my classmate. I remember myself distributing the books at my town, at my place, my native place, and I met my classmate. We were together in the school until the 8th grade, I believe. So when I offered him Bhagavad-Gita, he told me, "Oh no, I'm Christian. I'm Christian. I've joined the church." And I thought, okay, if you're a Christian, if you know who Christians are, right? In Russia, sometimes they might be really fanatic. So I thought, okay, I will not preach this person because he's a Christian. And I said, oh, okay, that's beautiful. So now you believe in Jesus. You know what? I actually got something. I got a very tasty candy with me. So because you are my classmate, we were friends. So please accept this. And I had a piece of burfi. And back that time, in post-Soviet Russia, we had a very nice milk powder. It was real milk powder, not with the plastic, not with the soya, and we had the real butter, real butter. So it was really, really tasty. The taste was like nectar, and I just gave him this. It was in a plastic bag. I just gave him this and just went on distributing the books, and then. Suddenly, in a few weeks, I saw the same classmate of mine during the Sunday feast program in our temple, and I approached him and asked, okay, what happened? You were a Christian and now you're here, and he told me, you know what? When I tasted that prasadam, that piece of burfi you gave me, I found this tastes like nectar, and I thought, okay, if these people got such a wonderful food, so how wonderful their religion must be. So this is what made me to find the temple, and he started associating and with the devotees, and he's still chanting. Wow, that's wonderful. Prasadam can create the wonders, of course. Yeah. Okay, I believe we should stop for now. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai.